Welcome to Spill the Trauma, Keep the Drama. I'm your host, Kayla. As always, before we get into it, I do want to remind you guys that I'm not a licensed professional. If you are seeking mental health help, reach out to a licensed professional. If you need help finding resources, you can hit me up. I'll be glad to help you find someone. You can hit me up pretty much everywhere at Spill the Trauma, Keep the Drama. Before we begin, this episode discusses suicide threats, emotional abuse, parentification, and narcissistic manipulation. If these topics are triggering, please pause or skip this episode. Your mental health comes first. For anyone struggling, like I said, you can hit me up for resources. What you're about to hear isn't just my story. It's a survival guide for anyone trapped in a narcissist fiction. And to every parentified kid listening, none of this was your fault. Let's spill some trauma. A huge part of my childhood was performative love and psychological warfare. If Narcissist had a reality show, my birth giver would win Best Actress in a Fake Crisis. Today, we're going to discuss her greatest performances, from psych wards to competing with me for a creep's attention. Yeah, unfortunately, that happened. So normally when people say that they want to kill themselves, it's like a result of being in like a deep depression, like feeling no one loves you, no one supports you. People who suffer with major depressive disorder have trouble seeing past the darkness and past the trouble and the time that they're in, and they don't see an out, they don't see anything better. So they think that suicide is the answer because they don't see anything getting better. That's unfortunately the solution people find when they've hit their lowest lows. And I understand that feeling, the feeling of nothing is going to get better. You're stuck in this difficult time and not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I've been there. I've been at the lowest lows, and I do want to say that I know how hard it can get. That should never be your out. I understand getting to that low, and it's really difficult to see the light when you're in that mindset. But if you are feeling that low, please reach out to a friend, a family member, a loved one. Reach out to me. I've been there, and there's always something more to live for, even if you can't see it in the moment. That being said, the events that transpired on the night that I'm about to tell you about had nothing to do with depression and everything to do with attention. The night began, like many in this house did, with an argument. This night, we were arguing because I still didn't have my driver's license. I had taken driver's ed in high school, but no one in the house would allow me to practice my driving. And you're only learning so much in like the 15 minutes that you're driving around with like 4 other kids in the car. I didn't have the practice, I didn't have the experience, and every time I got behind the wheel, I was like super anxious, so I wasn't doing well, and like I wasn't passing the test. My grandpa was like, okay, so obviously she needs the practice, so either you have to, and he's speaking to my birth giver, he's like, either you have to bring her and practice with her around the block or pay for more lessons if you don't want to do that with her. This infuriated her, and she was like, no, I already paid for lessons, I don't need to pay for any more. And he was like, no, that's not how that works. If you paid for lessons and she still needs more lessons, then you have to either take her to practice or pay for more lessons until she knows how to drive. Like, you're the parent. That's how that works. And she was pissed that he took my side in the argument. Him telling her to be a parent was him taking my side. So she goes on this whole tirade about how she does so much in the house and she's so unappreciated, and I'm a brat and I get everything I want and no one cares about her or anything that she does, and that we're gonna all regret it when she's gone, and that we all take her for granted and take advantage of her. And none of us knew what she was like talking about. So we were all just like, yeah, all right. And she like threw tantrums a lot. So when she like stormed off to her bedroom and slammed the door, none of us like really thought twice about it. We were just like, she's just being her. So it was basically a normal night in the house for the rest of us. So an hour passes by and the cops show up. And we're like, what's going on? And apparently during that hour, she downed a bottle of wine and took like 10 pills of codeine and then called her ex-boyfriend and told him what she just done. He called the cops and the cops showed up and was like, we got a call saying someone is suicidal. So my grandpa tuned out at this point. He's watching his movie and Grandma is unfortunately dealing with her dementia, so she didn't really know what was going on. So the cops break down her door and take her out of the house, and they just tell us that she's suicidal and take her, and then don't tell us where they're taking her. And I remember asking Grandpa like what just happened, because I only like heard half of it, and he was like, I don't know, they just took her. And I was like, cool. So I call my dad for the first time in 7 years, hysterically freaking out, crying. And I was like, Dad, the cops just took her. I don't know where they took her. They said she was suicidal. We were fighting. Like, I don't know how this happened. We literally were just fighting. Like, the cops just took her and left. And so he's understandably shook, and tells me he'll call me back. So he somehow finds out where she is from Florida and calls me back and tells me what hospital she's at and tells me and the oldest of my younger brothers to go be with her. And I was like, I don't know, Dad. She's really pissed off at me. I don't know if that's the best idea. And he's like, if she's suicidal, she needs family around her. Go be with her. So against my better judgment, I get into an Uber with my brother and go to the hospital. We go to the psych portion of the ED where she was. When we first get there, social workers are trying to talk to us to see like what went on, if we like live in a safe house and all that fun stuff. While it was my brother's turn, I hear her screaming and crying to the doctor that I'm such a burden to her, I'm a brat, and I do all this bad shit, and that I get everything I want, and I make her life so much harder, and that I'm just like the worst kid, and all of this stuff, right? And so then my brother returns, and it's my turn with the social worker, and I'm visibly like freaked out, and the social worker just like asks if where we live is like safe and whatever, and I'm pretty sure I told him, yeah, I don't know what's going on. So by the time I'm done with the social worker, she's done with her call with the doctor, and the nurses are telling us to go into the room to see her now. The door slides open, and I expect her to like start screaming and crying all over, but she's like, oh my God, my babies, you came. I can't believe you're here. Thank you so much for coming. Waterwork, complete 180. Crying like, oh my God, I love you guys so much. Thank you for coming. Honestly, looking back at it, it's fucking terrifying to think about that she's able to just like switch it on and off like that. And clearly, well, hopefully you guys can see that that's sociopathic psychotic behavior, and there's definitely more going on. But this master manipulator during her inpatient convinces the doctor that she's just this overstressed mom, and she's just like has too much on her plate and there's nothing wrong with her. She kept saying that she was just trying to prove a point and just trying to show us that we really needed her, which in itself is a crazy point to prove by trying to kill yourself. And then later on, she would alter the story even more and say that she never tried to kill herself. She truly believes to this day that she didn't try to kill herself and that she was just proving a point. So after she's in an inpatient facility for about a week, they release her, but they release her on the grounds that she must see a therapist because she has to see a therapist. And she, after a month, weaseled her way out of that because she claimed she was a busy single mother that didn't have time for therapy. So that quickly went out the window too. But her performances weren't limited to hospitals. Sometimes they played out over dinner. So even before she met her sugar daddy, she would do this thing where she would take us out to like a more high-end place on like birthdays and stuff and post about it. She would want to show that she's this like struggling single mother, but she's doing the most for us and she's taking us to all these nice places, and like she really wanted to show social media how well she was doing on her own. So she would take us to these really nice places, make us all sit for a picture, and then for the rest of the meal she would not look up from her phone because she would be literally making this like long ass extravagant post with all these hashtags like hashtag blessed, hashtag family time is the best time, hashtag love being with my family, like cringe things like that. Meanwhile, we're all sitting here at this nice ass restaurant in fucking silence on our phones because we're not actually having a nice dinner with each other. We were just props for her delusions. The dinner that takes the cake though, oh my goodness. So after she met her sugar daddy, she was encouraged by a couple of my family members to maybe fly me up to New York for a weekend, maybe for my birthday weekend, because I really missed them. They really missed me. My dad encouraged her to do it. They all like said it would be a really nice birthday present for me. She can see the photo op, so she agrees. I should have known better. But as always, foolishly, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. And like everything else, there were strings attached to this trip. I hadn't seen my friends in over a year because I moved to Florida. So I had asked her if I can spend like one of the days doing a brunch thing with them, and then the rest of the time I'd be with family. She was so adamant about me not being with my friends and just everything being with my family. She's like, I'm paying for the trip and I haven't seen you in over a year and we haven't been talking, and if your friends want to come, they can come to brunch and they can come to dinner, but you're not doing anything alone. So she basically already killed the weekend. But I was still happy to be in New York, still grateful to see my friends when I could and to see all my family and my brothers and grandma because I missed them all like crazy. So I was still happy to be up here. So we're getting ready for dinner, right? She sends me and my two friends to go pick up the cakes that she ordered for this dinner. This woman dropped like $1,000 on a butter cookie cake, if you know, you know, for them to make a fucking like Carlos Bakery-esque Louis Vuitton purse cake. Now, anyone who knows me, including my cousins who barely knew me at the time, were like, bro, do you even like Louis Vuitton like that? And I was like, no, but it's a nice cake. But cake aside, that wasn't even the worst part of the night. So while I was living in Florida, I lost a lot of weight. I was finally feeling really secure in my body and really proud of the progress I'd made. And I had like the cutest birthday outfit. I was so excited. I was honestly nothing too revealing, but like my back was out, my back was showing. And before we left the house, she was like, you're not wearing that. And I was like, what do you mean? Yes, I am. And she was like, you can't wear that. Your whole back is showing. And I was like, I know. And she was like, you have stretch marks. You can't wear that. And I was like, it's fine. No one's gonna care. And she's like, no, your cousins are gonna make fun of you. Cover up right now. So I end up covering up with a scarf, and my friends who were with me saw that my confidence was shaken. So when we get to the restaurant, we're the first people there, and so they bring me into the bathroom to give me a pep talk and a confidence boost, and we have a little photo shoot, and they like start hyping me up and getting me back into like a celebratory mood. She comes in the bathroom and she's like, why are you guys hiding in here? And I start to tear up because I was like, because you said that I look weird. And she's like, well, no one else is going to. Why didn't your friends tell you something in front of them? And I was like, because no one else cares. And she's like, you're so ungrateful. And I was like, can you just like let me try to chill out? I'm getting emotional. I'm feeling self-conscious. Can you just let me relax before I come out there with all my family? And that pissed her the fuck off, but she listened for that night. But that wasn't the end of the conversation. She, the next day, had to drive me to the airport and she went off on me. She's like, "You're such an ungrateful little bitch. How can you make me feel bad like that? I flew you out here and you're gonna cry to me because I was looking out for you? How fucking dare you? You look like a whore," and like all this awful shit. Then she proceeds to drive like a fucking maniac to the airport. I got to the airport. She dead ass hit every fucking single bump in the road and like made me so sick because she was driving like that. When I got there, I puked my brains out because she was just like everywhere on the road. So it's clear to me now that the reason why she acted that way was because she was in competition with me. What made it so disgustingly clear was when this mutual friend of ours, we met this dude at a Desi party, and I'm in my 20s at this point. She's in her 40s. And this guy said that he could help me with a job to become a caterer, and we exchanged contact information, but that was about it. That's all I saw him as, was like a job opportunity. I didn't really like think he was cute or anything. He was like a nice dude, but I just didn't really vibe with him. So he ended up coming to help us with a move, and he mentioned to her that he thought I was really cute. Mind you, I'm in a relationship at this point and have no interest in him and just didn't really want anything to do with him. She, later that night, after he told her I was cute, starts to was alone with him at one point and starts to openly flirt with him and even tried to hook up with him. I had no idea about this until months later when he stopped answering me when I hit him up for jobs, and I was, yo, what the fuck? Why is he not talking to me? He said he'd help me with a job. I don't get what's happening. So I meet up with him for lunch finally after months of trying to hit him up for a job, and he's like, "Do you know what happened that night?" And I was like, "No, what happened?" And he dead ass told me that she tried to hook up with him and like do stuff with him just because he said that he found me cute, and he was like really turned off by the whole situation and just wanted to keep distance, which I completely get his reaction. What I don't get is how badly you as a parent, and I use that word so loosely with her, but like as a parent, how you can be that tunnel visioned into sabotaging your kid because you're in that much competition with her. And that's not the only time she sabotaged me. Let's go back to our final story. It's freshman year of college. I'm grandma's nurse because I told them I wanted to nurse, and of course they weaponized that. I'm the only one willing to stay in the hospital with her because her health was in a really bad decline, and so I'm staying overnights with her, making sure she's like taking the right meds and all that stuff. And it was like the first time of really losing her because her memory was going. She didn't know who we were. It was a really painful and intense emotional time, and balancing that and school, like the adjustment of college, was impossible for me, and I ended up losing my scholarship and just like not doing well academically at all because of all the other stuff going on. She so kindly attributed my failure to me being a party reckless girl. In reality, I was taking care of things I shouldn't have been. And when we were in the meeting with the dean saying how poorly I was doing, the dean so graciously says to me, "You know, school's not for everyone. Maybe school's not for you." I was so taken aback by that, but even more taken aback by her jumping in without missing a beat and saying, "Yeah, I don't think school's for her either. She has this family business she can fall back on, but just chooses to be stubborn and doesn't want to do it." No, I've never shown interest in the family business. I've never wanted to be a part of the family business. It's just not in my cards. It's not for me. I've known this since I was little. And she wanted me to drop out of school that night. I so stubbornly forced her to drive me to QCC that night and enrolled that night. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be a college dropout, I will at least get my fucking associate. And I fucking did. And I'm so proud of myself for doing it, because out of my immediate family, her and my dad never got their college degree. So for me to get my college degree, it was a big fucking deal, even though she still to this day gaffs it off and calls it a fake college. For years, I thought breaking free meant running, but the real rebellion, stopping. Stopping the explanations, stopping the begging, stopping the hope that she'd ever change. Turns out, narcissists hate silence. So when I finally gave her nothing, that's when the real show began. In the finale of Narc Tales, what happens when the family she isolated finally hears the truth, and why no contact isn't an ending, it's a reckoning. Guys, I know that episode was like super long and I'm so sorry. There was just like a lot in there. I hope you guys are enjoying the craziness. And yeah, see you guys next week in the finale.